Hey everybody, welcome to Live Fully, Lead Authentically. My name is Kurt Busch. I'm co-founder of the Brimstone Coaching Group and co-coach here with my co-founder and friend Chris Godfredson. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing well today. Thanks for asking.
Chris, we have a new friend with us. Listeners,
Yeah.
if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see we have our new friend Kathy Eastwood with us. Kathy Eastwood is a consultant and a coach. She's a speaker and an author, and she's got a wildly varied background that we are super excited to hear about because I think it just
Mm.
lends to your experience and your view of the world. Kathy, thanks so much for being here. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really excited.
Yeah, Kathy, tell us more about the work you do, why you do the work, what gets you out
Mm.
of bed to do the work that you do every day.
Sure. I am someone that I'm very passionate about helping to elevate the standard of leadership so that we bring a human approach
Mm,
Mm.
to delivering results. So I am someone that loves to get things done. I tend to be very operational in nature. But if I have learned one thing throughout my career, if you don't have people on board with you,
mm.
you're never going to be able to succeed on what you want to deliver, whether it's personally with your team, whether it's the organization. But how do we deliver results? By caring about our people.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Would you say a little bit about your background? You said a little bit about it before we hit record, and
Yeah.
Chris
People
made
need to
the
hear this.
Chris made the like big eye face, the like whoa face. Could you just share a little bit of
Well,
that?
Sure. So I started my career actually as a CPA. And I did a lot of auditing, I did consulting, and then went into private accounting and went, yeah, this doesn't work for me because it was very routine, boring. So my career started as a CPA and ended as a chief people officer before I ended up starting my own business. So now I'm a CEO. Yeah, completely different, right, Chris?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
in between there, let's talk about also the in between. I ended up doing consulting for a software company. Then I went into pre-sale, so I got into the sales side of things. Went over to R&D and became a chief of staff for a $2.6 billion business. Helped organize support for that product line as well. And then, all the while driving change. So Chris is still trying to figure out how I became a chief people officer. I was always involved in change. I love doing different things, getting people along in the process. And so that's when I left a large corporate tech company and went to work for a smaller one and became the chief people officer, driving the transformation agenda. And with a CEO that said and agreed with me that the only way we were going to drive that change is if people were on board. And so that's
Yes. I mean, any organization can say we are going to change and we're going to put systems into place that force change. And my level of resistance to that is, well, there's people
Mhm.
that are going to bring the change. And unless you're hiring bots, you're not going to get the change. So I love I love what I'm hearing so far, and I want to hear more.
Yeah, so Kathy, let me play devil's advocate for a little bit. It's awfully early in this conversation to play devil's advocate. It's a softball devil's advocate. You
Okay.
you talked about like the human side of leadership. What
Mhm.
if the listener is like, well, of course, a leader is a human and they're leading humans. Like, what do you mean by like kind of transforming leadership and thinking about leadership from a more human perspective? Like, what does that actually mean to you?
I think a lot of people, when you think about results, they tend to look at the end
Mm,
first, which I think is important, right? And I think this is all about balance. But to get to that end result, it starts with people, right?
mm,
So if people aren't on board, if they're not productive, if they're not engaged, then they are not going to be more innovative. And if they're not more innovative, if they're not excited, they're not going to treat your customers well.
mm,
And if you don't treat your customers well, they're not going to buy, they're not going to refer, they're not going to expand, right? Renew, pick whatever word.
Mhm.
And so when you look at it and start with the people first, that's how you're going to drive higher performance. And so a lot of, unfortunately, results oriented leaders and businesses get caught up in the results and miss that it all stems back to the people,
Yeah.
right? So companies that are more people centric, starting with the people, are 23% more profitable.
Hmm.
And so we need people to help understand, yes, you can be very results oriented, but it actually starts with the people.
Yeah. So here's another question. What sort of result you say a lot of people start looking at the results or look at the end. What sort of results are they looking at? Like what sort of results might distract or keep from thinking about people? Or is it the same results, you're just starting in a different place?
Hmm.
I think it's a great question. I think it's the same results, Kurt, but um, it's whether it's results at all costs and
Uh,
forgetting about the people, right? I look at it as there's some people out there that are very focused on results first. So I don't care. And I've been told this by a couple of different groups I've worked with, like private equity at times, will say, we don't care about the people. It's all about the numbers.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I've worked with other leaders that will say, it's all about the people. Well, yes, it's all about the people, but if we're not delivering results, we're not in business and we're not going to succeed, and the people won't have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think we shouldn't be an either or.
Yeah.
This needs to be both.
That's well said. Yeah. I would push against any of the binary, it's this or it's that. It both and is the way, right?
Kathy, here's another question. So I wonder if I can ask about your background a little bit.
Hmm.
Was there a time in your career from CPA on where, like, did you fall into this old mental model of results only? Did you fall like, and how did you come to the realization of like, wait a second, this is costing us?
Yeah, I think I've always been the results oriented person. So I have that red energy and just need to run to the fire and get there. Um, Being part of projects that succeeded and failed, I would always do that retrospective afterwards and think about it
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
learn that there was a repeatable process that worked for the projects that succeeded. And you could look at the failures and go, yep, we were missing a vision, we were missing the people, we were missing process, whatever it might be. But there was one big turning point, Kurt. I was working for a new boss. So we had a culture that was really amazing. We had a team that was all in sync, and our boss left, and a new one came on board. And he had a very different style. He was results at all costs.
Hmm.
And the culture changed really quickly.
Yeah.
It went from a collaborative, excited, innovative mindset
Yeah.
to a fear based culture.
Hmm. Yeah.
There was no purpose of why are we doing this. It felt like change for the change's sake.
Yep.
And one day my team members asked me why. They said, Kath, why are we doing this? We've
Hmm.
already got this working. And I
Yeah.
said, I don't know why, just
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
caught my breath and I went, oh my gosh, that is not who I am. That is
Yeah.
not what I believe in.
Yeah.
And so that culture, that command and control style of just do it, I was inheriting that.
Hmm.
And I went, ooh, that's not how I intend to be. And so
Yeah.
now I can't live my values of what's really
Yes.
important to who I am. It was a toxic environment for myself.
Yep.
And it wasn't everyone. And four people quit that same day.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
four leaders walk away out of a team of 10. And it really caused me to pause because I had had amazing leaders throughout. And so then I looked at this and said, is this, is this who I am? Is this what I want to be?
Yeah.
And why was this leader that way? And it really caused me to rethink a lot because I know for a fact, and it's easy for me to say this now, I know he didn't show up with bad intent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it was impacting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went, I'm out. Right. And our productivity levels changed. It was just wasn't a good situation. And that's been a big turning point for me as I look at what does good leadership look like,
Mm,
especially as we move forward in this new world.
Yeah.
yeah. Now I have something that I would love to say. Because like, I had people along the way who had such a shaping impact on me, and sometimes it was really positive. I can be an encourager. Other times I've seen like do it my this is how we're doing it and do it. And then that's how I led people. I didn't know I was doing it or why I was doing it, but it happened. And one thing I've learned is that I think that we're human beings. We're not human doings.
Hmm.
And because we're human beings, we don't necessarily need to treat people like they're brains on a stick who are doing a thing. Rather, we treat them as if they're human beings, and it might cost you more in the short term, but every time you turn over staff people or every time you chase somebody off, like people will do that thing for a little while, but they won't do it long term because to your point, they whether they've thought deeply about whether they have values or not, they do have values and they will transition out and go find something that isn't more in alignment with who and how they want to be. And so, yeah,
Well, Chris, I would I
how
would
do you
argue
help
that
that person? How do you help that leader? I mean,
I
and what you said is, I think you transitioned out too. Maybe, but
oh, I did. I was one
it's
of
a
the first women.
challenge to push up against that, right?
Yeah, I think there's so much to unpack in there, Chris. Sometimes people stay, which is worse, right? You're
Yeah.
almost better for people to leave if their values don't align. But
Hmm.
I've had a lot of people that stay and then they're really struggling because they're not giving their all. Employee
Yeah.
engagement is at its all-time lowest, 20% employee engagement. That means they're not putting their all in. That means they're not feeling good. They're burnt out. They're um,
Yeah.
creating a negative environment for everyone else, right? Because I look at it with the four people, the three others that left with me, we spent more
Hmm.
time discussing it than working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a good employee in that situation. And that's
Yeah.
unfortunately a lot of people stay.
We've talked about incivility around here lately, and that is a $2.7 billion a day loss for places. So just do it is not civil, right? Just do it my way, or this is what we're doing with no rhyme or reason. Yeah, and young people my age did that.
And it
The
worked. They
young
got away with it.
humans, yeah, the young humans that I work with and lead now, they won't do that. Yeah. So
I
it's a
really like
different
what you
day.
said about human doing and human being, like we are human beings. It's really
Hmm.
interesting because I fall into the category of the doing, right? That masculine energy, that's my natural tendency. And I've learned it doesn't work. People don't respond to being told what to do.
Mm.
No.
At times, it's important, right? Like my
Yeah.
family appreciates it when we're in a crisis
Hmm.
and we haven't gotten what we need done and I step into, okay, we got to get this done, but that is not the best way to start. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, this younger generation is not putting up with
Yeah.
the old way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, Kathy, we've beat around the bush a little bit here around good leadership.
Hmm.
Uh, define good leadership for. Are we at a place in the conversation where it's helpful to define good leadership as you would think about it?
Sure. To me, good leadership is about knowing yourself, understanding how you are then perceived,
Hmm.
and then understanding what is going to help others achieve the best they can be. Right. I
Hmm.
think this is multiple levels of because it's the job of the team to deliver results. The job of the leader is to help prepare the individuals to be able to deliver those results.
Mm, mm, mm. Somebody. I don't snap my fingers very well anymore, but that was really good.
Yeah, and we're all different. You talk about kind of the old style of leadership. There is no mold, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's no one way to show up,
Yeah.
and we have
Yeah.
to learn what is the best for ourselves. It's okay to be an introvert. It's okay to be very value based and inward focused. You can still be a great leader, but you need to understand how other people want you to lead,
Yeah.
and you need to treat them the way they want to be treated.
Yeah, it really makes, I mean, that we put a high value on self-awareness around here. And if you have no idea who you are and why you do what you do, when you do it, because we all do what we do when we do it, when we're tripped up or we're triggered or somebody challenges our way of thinking or somebody wants to argue with us or when we react, um, what do we do and how does that impact other people? I hear you saying that in your own way. So how how do you help people navigate those things? How do you help them understand themselves, perhaps, is the better question.
Starting with self-reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Asking people questions. Just your question alone, what does good leadership look like? That reflection for someone to sit down and think about what good looks like, what has helped them,
Yeah.
is a great starting point, right? And also what bad looks like,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
when we self-reflect on, oh, this doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
right? This causes me to shut down or not to be able to give my all. Then I can think about, well, do I do anything that might cause that reaction in someone else?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all about that self-reflection and going through exercises,
Mm.
right? I'm sure you guys do this where, behavioral assessments, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, where are your blind spots? What do you love? How do you
Mm.
love to
Mm.
work? Right? So helping people really understand themselves first so that they can then start to apply that to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Kathy, here's another. Apparently, I'm devil's advocate today. I'm not usually. I don't know what's going on today.
Bring it.
Yeah. uh, so one of the things, like Chris and I run into, I mean, number one, Chris and I would just snaps to everything you just said. I
Yeah.
mean, the alignment with our philosophy. I mean, well said, Kathy. We feel like we want to hear more from you about that. And
Mm-hmm.
what we would say is we run into a lot of people who say one of two things. Either they'll say, just tell me what to do to be a better leader, or they'll say something like, well, I have this book of like 21 things or however many number of things. I just have to do those things well. Like why is that not enough, Kathy?
Mm.
I think because each of us react differently.
Hmm.
Right. I love sharing, asking people about the golden rule,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And I think it's a really powerful rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. Because I firmly believe in dignity and respect and all of that. But I love to challenge it and really talk to people about the platinum rule. And we need to treat people the way they want to be treated.
So good.
And
Mm.
so if you come into this, so I can imagine I've worked with the folks that have their, the 21-point plan, right? I just follow this and
Yeah.
it'll work. It may not. It may not land with everyone. And so then you're dragging your people along. And we need to help leaders realize that their job is to corral everyone and help them work the best way that they're going to succeed. And so leadership can be really hard. It's not complex.
Yeah.
And so I think it's working with leaders, even the good leaders drift.
Hmm.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think the power is when you have a leader recognize that, wow, I'm not perfect.
Hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing, is to help people understand that no one is perfect.
Yeah.
And
Why is that so important, do you think?
because I think then we're looking for how to improve and how to adjust to get to the end results,
Yeah.
right? If we think about, um, how do I show up the best way? Well, I'll go back to this. I often do 360s. And what
Mm,
Okay.
I've learned are the best leaders will traditionally rate themselves lower than their team.
Hmm.
And you can know just by the answers, because a great leader is always thinking, I could be better. I could just do it.
Hmm.
If I could just get more time, if I said thank you more often, if I expressed the end vision more, I could be better. The leaders that you and I, we would love to help elevate, are the ones that like, I got this. I'm fabulous. I have no
Yeah.
blind spots. Just do what I tell you to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so you can see that come through on the results, because they're like, yep, five, five, five. And there are people like, yeah, no, don't have a clue. Don't realize that they didn't say thank you, haven't wished me happy birthday. They've canceled the last 10 one-on-ones with me. I have no idea what we're trying to do. It's the people
Yeah.
that are not aware are the problem, the challenges.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. You used the word drift, Kathy. You said good leaders, even good leaders drift. What do you mean by drift?
For me, we're all busy. We all have a million and one things coming at us at different times. We have our own personal grief, personal issues going on. We've got stresses coming up from our boss, from our peers, etc. And we can have the best intention of how
Yeah.
we are trying to show up, but all of that causes us to drift from what good looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll give an example. So my dad died, who's been a real inspiration for me, for my book, for my business. He was a leader that just taught me everything. He worked from the, so you talk about my CPA to CPO, he went from mailroom to president of a company.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, as I was, building my business and taking care of him, he was very sick. When he passed, I said, okay, now I'm going to get back in. I grieved. I thought I grieved for a significant amount of time. I'm going to get back into my work and I'm going to be present. And it was probably about 8 months later, my team finally came to me and said, Kath, enough.
Mm,
You keep telling us what to do. You're holding the reins too tight. You're trying to control. I was
Mm.
going back to that doing and not being.
yeah.
And I thought I was doing a good job. I was telling them I'm feeling, I told them all of the right things. But at the end of the day, I was not showing up the right way.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they knew my intention. They knew what was going on. They knew what I was feeling. And they were able to come to me and say, no mas, we
Mm.
gave you a bit of time. We need you back. And you need to, you know, loosen up the reins, delegate, let us do it. We're here. And so that's why I talk about drift. I mean, I put myself in a category. I like to believe I'm a pretty good leader, a lot of faults, but I'm a very aware leader. And that's when I realized how much I had drifted from what I intended and I wasn't having the right impact.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
this
for,
powerful realization. Kurt was going to say thanks for saying that, and I would echo that. It's a powerful thing, and the way we think about this is we have values that we choose to live by, ways that we prefer to show up in the world, and what's true is the slightest thing, it could be the dumbest thing, will pull me back to my old protective way of being that I have practiced for a really long time. And so we have you have a vision for yourself as a leader. You've defined leadership beautifully, and life.
Hmm.
right? And then so my dad dies, and now I get into action and I start to do some of the things that I learned how to do or that helped me feel safe once upon a time. And now here I am. I've drifted. I'm stuck, and it is a good leader who can get the feedback to say, okay, like we see you, and stop it. And but stop it rarely works in my way of thinking unless you have enough relationship like they have with you to be able to say, okay, we see you and you can trust us again, right? So there's so much there that's really helpful in the conversation.
You said a word that I think is so critical, which is trust.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think as a leader, we have to build that trust with everyone we work with, right?
Yeah.
And not just our team, it's our peers, it's our boss, it's our, vendors, it's a competition, it's everybody. And
Hmm.
that's, if we stop and think about we're all humans, we're all waking up with good intent, how do we build that trust that we want a win-win situation?
Yeah. Yep. And so how do you build trust? How do you think about that? How would you explain that as a chief people officer?
It can't be hired, right? This
Hmm.
is something that I get a lot of, oh, I don't trust this person. They're probably not the right person. And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
you haven't even built a relationship. So it's relationship building.
Yeah.
And it goes back to where I typically like to start is that self-awareness. So that exercise of really knowing yourself, what your values are, what your non-negotiables are, your ways of working, and then
Hmm.
sharing it, right? And being deliberate in that communication. So, if you're not coming and telling, if I didn't tell my team that I am naturally, I want to get results and I'm results driven, but I care deeply, and sometimes that result oriented will come out before the nurturing. I give
Hmm.
you permission,
Mm.
call me on it. So first it starts, in my opinion, of sharing who you are, what your intentions are, and then it's about the actions behind it.
Hmm.
So if I say I'm a nurturing driver, and the first time someone comes to me and says, "Oh, Kath, I have a family issue. I can't be here for our 9 o'clock meeting," and I'm like, "No, you have to be here." I'm not living what I just told you.
Yeah.
So now it's really the behaviors behind it have to support the words, and it's continuous, right? You're never done. You just can't check a box and say we've got trust.
Exactly. I want to be done. I want to have learned enough and I want to be effective enough. And Kurt and I came across a leadership thinker a few years ago. Her name is Ruth Haley Barton. And she would say that if a leader isn't continuing to do their own work, to do their own growth, to be pursuing their own growth, they really have disqualified themselves from leading other people. And that's what I hear you saying more eloquently than I just did. And it's a powerful approach. And to get the kind of productivity and the results that every leader wants, it really requires investing the time and the energy that we don't think we have because that's counter to productivity. And it's actually, no, it unleashes the system to really be productive, to flourish. And we're all about wanting to help people flourish at Brimstone Coaching Group. And I hear that in you too.
I also love the phrase to help people. Sometimes you have to go slow to go
Mhm.
fast, right? When you have a team that's aligned on your language and
Mhm.
how you're going to show up and what's important, then suddenly you can bypass a lot, right? You're in sync. I mean, Kurt, you said to me as you guys came on, you guys have been working together so long, you can read the cues. That's what a leadership team should be able to do. And when you invest that time to get to know each other, it helps, drive things faster. And it's interesting. I was working with a client the other day and likes to get things done. He's like, this is exhausting. And I said, I
Yes.
get it,
Yeah.
but there are people on your team that you've known for 20 years and you trust them implicitly. He goes, oh my gosh, with my life. Absolutely. I said, but here you have to get to that 20-year point in a very short period of time. So you hire someone in, you don't have the luxury of even 5 years. So how do you get to that point of trust as quickly as possible? And it's by being vulnerable,
Mm.
knowing yourself and sharing and being willing to get to know them as well. So you have to, force is a strong word. You have to be deliberate about really getting to know someone and taking that time. And it could be as simple over as having a cup of coffee with them and saying, tell me about your values. Tell me about your kids. Tell me what you did this weekend.
Yeah.
You learn a ton.
Yeah.
You,
They're a
you just
fellow
said a
human being. All right. I mean, go, Kurt.
you just said a word, Kathy, that in Chris and I's world will cause leaders to like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You just said the V word. You just said
Hmm.
vulnerability, Kathy. Why? I think that's, I just want to say why. Why is that so important?
We're trying to get to a human approach to get people to do something we need them to
Yes.
do. And fear, ego, uncertainty, and doubt, feud is keeping them from doing it. That's all feelings.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
we have to be able to connect to their hearts so that they will look past all of that feud, look
Mm.
inside to do things, dig deep, and do things they're uncomfortable with. So if we're not willing to be vulnerable and help people along on this journey, then
Yeah.
the only way we have is a command and control, and they're going to do it in a very, so now you're, in reality, we're still using vulnerability. But if you
Yeah.
choose fear, which is a feeling,
Yeah.
it just,
Hmm.
they're not doing any more than they have to. They're doing to protect themselves. But if you can use that vulnerability to find their goals, their passion, their heart, they're going to do a lot more for you as an organization.
Yeah. So all this stuff, vulnerability, all this other stuff, Kathy, like you are asking the leaders you work with to look at themselves.
Mm.
One of the tropes that Chris and I will use jokingly with each other is we'll joke like the problem is always out there, right?
Yeah.
Meaning like I don't want to work on myself. Like I can see all the problems with other people out there
Yeah.
when
If
really
Jim would just be different, then everything would be fine.
if Jim would just suck less,
Mm.
then my problems would go away. But then, like seriously, Chris and I believe that the problem is always, it always starts in here. Like whatever I'm facing as a leader, it always starts here. I always look here before I look there. If you're only listening, I always look at myself before I'm looking outward. What would you say to a leader who you're working with who says, Kathy, but you don't understand. Jim is the worst. Or like, Kathy, you don't understand. Like, this isn't about me. It's about them. Like, how do you begin to kind of break down some of that barrier? Like, how do you get to that with people?
My favorite question is, what do you think their fear, ego, uncertainty, and doubt is?
Mm,
Because we're all carrying something around.
mm,
And if we assume no one wakes up with bad intent, then something else might be happening. And it
mm,
could be that they have a different priority than you. It could be they have a different style than you. But if we always strive to put ourselves in their shoes, suddenly I find most leaders go, oh,
Mm.
that's interesting. Oh, wow. They might be fearful they're going to lose their job.
mm,
Oh,
Mm.
wait a minute. I just heard they lost their mother or
mm.
their child. Or, you know, when we put ourselves in their shoes, uh, leaders suddenly change tremendously, right? So
Yeah.
then it's not a blame, right? Oh,
Yeah,
they're an idiot. They don't care. They're whatever.
yeah,
No, wait a minute. What else is going on? And how can you speak to them to help them get on your page, right? If you need this done, why are they going to care?
yeah,
You know, the fear, ego, uncertainty, and doubt is blocking them. Well, let's find their with them. What's in it for me that's going to help you get them on board with your project?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really good. That's really good. Kathy, I was a production supervisor at a manufacturing plant for I don't know, couple of years. I supervised a couple or a group of people, 10 or 12 people, and we did a process. We put coating on glass. It was a really fast, high dollar process. And I had one employee. I'm gonna call him Lance because that's his name, and
It's
I
his
hope
name.
because it's his name. And honestly, I hope he listens to it someday and he hears what I'm about to say. Uh,
Hmm.
I was really immature. I was young. I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought command and control was leadership, right? Lance, everything Lance touched broke.
Mm.
And I thought for a long time, if I could just get rid of Lance, like I could get the results. If I could just find a way to not have Lance on my team, I would get my results. Well, one day Lance transferred to a different place because why wouldn't he? Because I was not a good leader. Lance left me.
Mm.
So Lance left, and guess what? There was another Lance. There was another
Mm.
Lance right behind him because there's always the lowest performer. All right. There's always someone who sort of hits the radars. Like, if I could get rid of that person, I would have results. And guess what? It just never happened because it wasn't about Lance. And that's what I would
Mm.
want Lance to hear is Lance, it wasn't about
Yeah.
you. It was about me. I was a really poor leader, just expecting Lance is the thing standing between me and my results. Right.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's just not the case.
Yeah.
Well,
What's the greatest obstacle to my transformation? Me. It's
Me.
me. I am the one that's in the way, right? So, because like I love what you're doing. You didn't say, I don't think you said that there's an internal feud going on, but as you're talking about fear, ego, uncertainty, and doubt, like we all carry those things. And if if humans would start to realize that, I'm going to bring in a Brene Brown quote, but she would say, like, if we could just look at people as if they're not sucking on purpose just to piss me off, then like then everything changes. Uh, and so much of what you've been saying through this entire episode, appreciate.
no, I was thinking of Lance, and it was a
Yeah.
conversation I had once with a controller. I was the chief people officer, it's performance time, and he said to me, this person isn't meeting my expectations. And my first question was, what are your expectations?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he said, well, she's an accountant, she should know.
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
I don't know, so tell me what it looks
Yeah.
like. What does good look like for her? And I think the performance improvement plan, was the greatest gift for both of them because it forced him to write down what great looks like.
Yeah.
He then understood, oh, you want me to do a report every month? I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought you were going to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they started communicating. And sure enough, 3 months later, she's off the PIP and exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. That's really great. Um, Kathy, thanks for saying all that. I am looking at the clock, and it is time for us to honor your time. So
Mm.
let's land the plane a little bit. Kathy, for those not watching, I see a book over your shoulder. Tell us about your book. Tell us how people get a hold of you. Tell us like how does someone listening to this saying, "Man, I want to hone in my leadership." Like, how do people get a hold of you, and what does that look like?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I did just write a book and talking a lot about what we've just been conversing about. It's the E3 Leadership Code, which is a leadership system to help leaders really be more aware, and make sure they express and envision, engage their people, and execute with precision, all
Mm.
powered by emotional qualities.
Mm,
So, if leaders look to deliver results through a human first approach,
mm.
and that's what the
Yeah.
book is. You can learn more about the book myself at kathyeastwood.com.
Hmm.
Everything's there in one place.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes too. You can find all of that there.
I'm just really grateful for the conversations and the things that I picked up from you today. You are dropping little nuggets everywhere with them. Uh, feud. I mean that I want to think about that and the retrospective work that you've done. We talk and we think deeply about the act of reflection, and so much of what you're doing and what you're putting out into the world is aligns with the way we think, and so I I value that, and I learned some stuff. So thanks for teaching me today.
Yeah, it's a gift to kind of be in the same quote unquote room with people that are doing such good work as the work you're doing. It's fun to see the leadership tide shift in real
Mm,
time, and I just Chris and I are just really grateful for the work you're doing. Thanks for letting
yeah,
us see just a little glimpse of that today, Kathy.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you guys are doing as well, because it's a personal mission of mine is to elevate the standard of leadership,
Hmm.
right? And
yeah,
really have a high human approach and to be more human beings. And so we need to keep doing this work and encouraging people. So thank you so much
yeah,
for what you're doing
yeah.
as well.
It's so great. Yeah, the if the world could be a little less polarized and a little more humanized, I think it would be pretty great. I've never said it like that before, but that's part of my calling. So yeah, I appreciate that, Kathy.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks, Chris. Thanks, Kathy. Both of you be well.